Hey everybody, welcome to the Get Wealth Podcast. My name is Brennan Wiersma. Today I have here Tim Bratz, commercial real estate investor, children's development book writer, you name it, investor, business owner. So I'm excited to get into some of the stuff you've been doing because it sounds pretty cool. Thanks for coming on the show today, man.
Yeah, man, excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So I guess let's just start off with, what's your story? Like how did you get into real estate investing? Because that's the main thing, right? You said over 4,000 units, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah. So I'm a real estate investor. Primary business is investing in apartment buildings. So I didn't always invest in apartment buildings. I started out in college. It was 03 to 07 when the market was going crazy. Everybody's getting involved in real estate. And I realized that I was very money motivated and I wanted to go and make a bunch of money. So I got involved in real estate. When I graduated in 07, I moved to New York City. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally, but I moved out to New York City and got a real estate license. I thought that's how you got involved in being in real estate. And then I just, I started reading books about investment. I started going to seminars about real estate investing. And I brokered a little lease. I worked in a commercial real estate brokerage when I was in New York City, and I brokered a lease on a little small square foot, like 400 square feet. And the landlord signed a lease with the tenant for $10,000 a month on a 12-year lease term. And I just started realizing, like, I need to be owning real estate, not necessarily brokering it. And man, I moved out of Charleston, South Carolina. I just wanted kind of better quality of life and decided I wanted to become a real estate investor. So I bought a little dumpy duplex in 2009. It was the first investment property I ever purchased. This is right after the market completely collapsed. And so I was buying things just off the MLS, through real estate agents. And there was no bidding wars like there are today. There was no, like any property you wanted, you could go out and buy for pennies on the dollar. The hard part back then was nobody was lending money on real estate. So you had to get pretty creative with your structures and your financing and how, bringing private money to the table. And I got pretty good at that. And so did a lot in the single family realm for a few years. 2012, I bought my first 8-unit apartment building. And I just saw the scale that apartments had over single family. And so I just decided to go all in on apartments over the course of the next few years. And, there's a lot of ebbs and flows and ups and downs throughout the entire process. If you want to get into any of those, I can. Mm-hmm. But essentially, fast forward to today, I have a little over 4,200 apartment units. Well, I'd say 90% of it is apartments. The other 10%, I have some office buildings, I have some vacation rentals, and I have some self-storage facilities. And out of those, but my bread and butter is really the apartment buildings. And so just focused on apartments. And, I do a little bit of coaching. I teach other people how to scale into apartment investing from single family, getting into more buy and hold type properties. And, I also have like a children's achievement book series, kind of like taking the principles of Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends and Influence People and The Richest Man in Babylon. And we made children's versions of each of those books. So that's more of an impact piece. There's not really any money in that. That feeds the soul. And so, yeah, man, my real estate investment side of things is really our primary business. The coaching side funnels a lot of deal flow and private capital into our investment business. And we partner with a bunch of our students and stuff too. So it all kind of works cohesively together.
Man, that's so cool. And I didn't realize that that's what the book thing was, because that's genius. Those books have so much wealth and knowledge in them. And so if you can make it digestible for kids at a young age, I feel like that's doing better than the school system ever could.
We go through the school system and they ring the bell in the morning, go to school, right? They ring the bell, means go to the different workstation throughout the day. They're training people to go to work for other people, and that's just how it's been during the Industrial Revolution. That's how the school system was developed. So it doesn't train kids to think critically. It doesn't train kids to be entrepreneurial. It doesn't train kids to go start a business and problem solve. And instead it teaches them to go be a worker bee. And, a lot of us going through, like I went to public schools, and when I get out of school, I had to go and read all these different books and completely reprogram my thinking to the point where, like, I was like, can you imagine if I didn't have to reprogram my thinking? Can you imagine if I just was programmed the right way from early on? And I have at the time when I had this thought, I was 31 years old. I had a 2-year-old daughter at the time, and now I have 2 kids. But I was like, I need to instill these principles into my children. And so ended up coming up with Little Legacy Library, which is essentially those thought principles of a lot of those classic personal development books into children's versions of them. Age range probably 4 to 10 years old, somewhere in that ballpark. And they're really good books. Like I partnered with 2 other people. They actually write them. I handle more the business side of the business, and I was kind of the creator of it. But it's been a lot of fun, a really, really cool learning experience. And I get some really amazing messages from people, entrepreneur friends of mine who read the book to their kids, and their kid goes and starts a business cleaning golf carts, or, whatever the business or industry ends up being. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. I mean, that alone, being able to program because when you're at that age, that's when you're able to have the most impressionable ideas, because you shape your mind really through that age, and getting to the point like when you're older in your 20s, that type of thing, it's not impossible, but it definitely takes some more work. And I think that's one of the things I appreciate about this podcast so much is I've been able to talk to people like you. I get the opportunity to have these conversations, and I find that the way, the mindset of everybody I'm talking to is just so much different than what I'm used to in a day-to-day life, talking to like friends or family even. It really is a complete paradigm shift of how you look at the world, even when you deal with people that are, in real estate, starting their own business. It's more exciting. It seems more fulfilling. Like you get up in the morning and you're doing things, working for yourself. Like that whole mindset is just the most appealing thing to me. So yeah, which is, I want to get into a lot of the stuff that you've done. It does seem like apartments are the natural progression. And as far as like commercial real estate, like that's the natural progression from when you start to finish. So you said you started with single family homes primarily. Did you do any house hacking, or was it like renting it out? How did you like first get in? What was the first deal?
Yeah, man. So actually, I've done all of it, right? I have done every single thing you could possibly think of in residential real estate. And so when I first got started, I found a dumpy little duplex on the MLS, and it was listed for $25,000. It was the cheapest house on the entire multiple listing service in Charleston, South Carolina. And it was an absolute pig. This was one of the ugliest houses you've ever seen in your life, right? And what was cool was $25,000. The hard part is I didn't have 25 G's. I was a punk 23-year-old kid, and straight out of college, and I had a couple $1,000s saved up, and that's it. And so I actually called up my credit card company. I got them to increase my credit limit on my credit card, and I bought the house. I made an offer, a lowball offer. It went at 12. They came back at 20. I got it for $14,000, and I bought the house on my credit card. So then I physically did all the work to it, and so really just put lipstick on a pig, and then I auctioned it off, and somebody came in and paid me $13,000 more than what I was into the property for. So that was the first big, like, holy cow, man, this is my first deal. Never done a deal before. I'm 23, totally clueless, in the worst housing market ever. And I just made the biggest check of my entire life. And so I was sold, man. I was like, let's do it again. And, HGTV was out, and like all that kind of stuff was going on. And so I got into like some of the house flipping. And there's something called wholesaling, where you can actually contract a property and then just sell the contract. And you don't have to actually close on it. You don't have to use your credit. You don't have to use your own money. All you do is you contract it. The contract is the asset, and you flip the contract. You sell that to somebody. So let's say, Brendan, you come to me and you're like, hey, man, I got this house over on 123 Main Street. It's worth $100,000. It needs $15,000 worth of work. And I'll sell it to you, Tim, for, $55,000. I'd be like, hey, I could be all in for $70,000. I'll do that deal all day. You might have the contract at $50,000. So you just sell me the contract, you make 5 G's on it, and then you get what you wanted. The seller gets their 50,000 still. I get the price point that I needed, and it's a win-win all the way around. So I got into wholesaling. I did a lot of wholesaling stuff. I did house hack my own primary residence, bought a 3-bedroom house, had 2 of my buddies living with me, paying me rent on a monthly basis. So that was cool. And dude, at 25 years old, I had 10 rental properties, including my own home. And I was like, I wasn't rich, but I was financially free, right? My residual income exceeded what my monthly expenses were. And, so I'm 25-year-old, I got it all figured out. I buy a Mercedes, I get into the, what you would call it, the private clubs, join the private country club kind of thing, start blowing my money on stupid shit, and ended up going down a road where I was completely broke. I actually chased some other shiny objects, tried delving into some other businesses, and realized I didn't have it all figured out. And I ended up selling my real estate because I drank the juice in this other business, and thought it was going to be the next big thing, and ended up with just my primary house. I had 25 grand in credit card debt. I had $80 in my bank account in 2012. And I'm like, dude, what the hell am I doing? And real estate is what saved me. I ended up selling my house again. I'm selling my house down here at $50,000 of equity in it. And so from selling that house, it saved my ass from being broke. Like, dude, I had to borrow money to make the minimum payment on my credit card. I had to, I was buying 19-cent ramen noodles and eating those, right? Like back in that type of mindset of college. I would pay for gas with the coins out of the cup holder of my car. I don't know if you've ever done that, but it's pretty friggin' embarrassing. Hey, can I have $1.09 in gas? Like what? So it was a pretty tough time, dude. And I moved back to Cleveland, Ohio, moved back in with my parents at the age of 27. But I met some people, and when they heard that I was getting back in real estate, they said, hey, we got some money. You know how to do it. Why don't we put some money with you? And I ended up partnering with a couple of folks who put up a few $100,000. And I just started playing Monopoly. I started flipping more houses. I bought high-end flips, low-end flips. I bought single-family rental houses, duplexes, triplexes. And then that's when I got into my first 8-unit apartment building as well in 2012. And so, from there, really liked apartments, started scaling up from an 8-unit. I bought another 8-unit. So I had 16 units. Then I bought a 23-unit. Then I bought a 14-unit. Then I bought a 31-unit. I had about 140 units all in all, with a couple other apartment buildings, some other single family. And then that partnership totally folded. We just started going in different directions. We decided to liquidate everything in 2015. And I was pressing the reset button again. So that sucked. And but it was really a setup, for some better things, and opened me up to start doing deals with other people. And so started building out my own team. Did a lot of the turnkey kind of flips. So I'd buy a house, single family, fix it all up, put a renter in place. And then I started a management company. We would manage it and then sell it to, some white collar professional or entrepreneur who didn't want to do any of the work, but wanted to put their money in real estate. And we did a lot of houses. We did 80 to 100 houses a year, doing that for a couple of years. And in 2017, I was like, we just got to go all in on our real estate, on our apartment buildings again. So I got rid of the management company. We stopped flipping houses. We only focused on building out our own portfolio. When I say us, it's me and my team, essentially. And in a couple of years, we really scaled up. We had, I was awful at real estate for the first 7 or 8 years, and then I got pretty good 4 or 5 years ago. And so it looks kind of like an overnight success, but there's a lot of time that went in to, kind of paying the piper before I really had, the idea and the knowledge and the skill set and the mindset to be able to build a business in a big way.
Yeah, it sounds like there's that saying, a 10-year overnight success, where there's all that behind the scenes and all the sacrifice and the failures. And then, and then when you're there, it's like everyone's, oh, this guy was born this way type of thing.
Yep.
But
oh, he must come from money. Oh, his parents must have given him something. Or, oh, this, that. And hey, dude, like, that's all right. Prove them all wrong,
Yeah, it's most of the people that I've talked to on this podcast have done the majority of the work themselves. Like they've figured out a way to make it from wherever they started. And it seems like one of the key underlying factors is just doing something, like buying that first property, which, what do you think that property would be worth today now? that same property?
Probably I sold it for 33 or 30, I think 33 grand is what I sold it for. I was all in for about 19, some closing costs and stuff. So I think I netted a little over $13,000.
Yeah.
Probably with where the market is, probably $70,000 to $80,000 it's worth today.
Yeah.
And that's, we're talking 10 years, 11 years later, which goes to prove, dude, don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and then wait, right? Like just start buying real estate, especially rental real estate is like even if values go to zero on paper, if you have a renter in your property that's covering your operating expenses, they're paying you rent every month, covers your operating expenses, covers your mortgage, and puts a little bit of cash flow in your pocket, dude, I don't give a shit if it's worth $0 on paper. It's still creating value for me. They're paying down my mortgage. It's appreciating in value every year. I'm collecting cash flow in that process. And so it allows me to sit on the property. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, you're sitting on $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 of equity. If you could do that across, I don't know, 10 properties, what if you did it across 50 properties? What if you did it across 4,000 units? Like, guess what? It's a time game, right? Like since the beginning of time, wealth has been measured in land ownership. It's been whoever had the property had the wealth and had the power and had the tax advantages and had everything else, right? So real estate's not an experiment. It's not a startup company. It's not something you're going to roll the dice on. It works. You just got to buy rental real estate, make sure it cash flows, and the cash flow covers your operating expenses and debt service, and then you sit on it,
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I'm not going to lie, the more I talk to real estate investors and people that are in this world, like I get so excited about it because I'm trying to go all in. I'm actually working on something right now that I'm not quite sure on, but I'm trying to pull the trigger pretty soon. And dude, it gets me up in the morning. I'm like, it's the coolest thing because you're right, it has been done over and over and over again. I was talking to a real estate investor I'm in Arizona, if I didn't tell you that already, but in the Arizona real estate as RIA group, every state has one of those. And he put it in a cool way. He was telling me a story about a property that he had that didn't go well. Like it was in 2009 when he bought it, and then the property values crashed, and then someone like undercut his rent and he lost everything. And it was a terrible experience, but at the end of it, it's like, he didn't do anything illegal. Like it was just a bad deal. He lost some money, and you don't go to jail. Like
nope.
It's just, you lose some money and you start over. Like that's America. It's kind of a beautiful thing.
That's the thing, man. Everybody thinks, so let's backtrack, right? Let's think about fear, right? Like we all think fear since, I don't know, how long have humans been around? 20, 50,000 years, 3 million years, whatever.
Yeah. So.
Dude, fear correlated to danger back 10,000 years ago. Why? Because a saber-toothed tiger might jump on your friggin' neck and eat you alive, right? Yeah. So if you hear a stick break or you hear something moving behind you, it instills fear because it's real danger. Mm-hmm. Today, we don't have real danger, dude. Like you think about this, if you buy a shitty deal and it doesn't go well, then what happens? You don't die, right? They're not like cutting your legs off. They're not, you're not going to starve to death. Like you have so many different safety nets. Like if your worst case scenario is you go bankrupt, which believe me, dude, I don't want to go bankrupt. I would never be reckless with my money or other people's money. I would never make stupid decisions. I would always take calculated risks, right? Like I don't do anything that's nonsensical by any means. But I think about it in this facet. If the worst case scenario is you go bankrupt, at least there's a floor, right? At least you stop somewhere.
Yeah.
Best case scenario is limitless income potential, limitless wealth building potential. So when you think about, hey, no limit of benefit, right? Like unlimited benefit versus worst case scenario, at least there's a floor and you can press the reset button and start all over again. I've already done it twice, like not that I never filed bankruptcy, but I was totally broke twice and started all over twice. And when you think about it that way, you're like, oh yeah, I guess I don't need to correlate fear with real danger, right? So
Yeah.
fear is something that you gotta control. You gotta be able to like think past it and go beyond it and realize that it's not a real um, threat to you in your existence, although it's been imprinted in us over millennia and millennia and millennia. So yeah, I think that's really an important,
Yeah, especially in that way of putting it, like we used to be scared about things that deserved fear, like a saber-toothed tiger, but we're not dealing with tigers. We're dealing with guys in suits that maybe you're going to be upset with you at the end of the day.
Numbers on a spreadsheet, right? Like there's no real danger associated with that.
Yeah.
So you take money from the mob, maybe, right? If you undercut the wrong person, maybe, but hey, you stick to the lines of legal, moral, and ethical, and you're gonna be in pretty good shape. But I want to go back to something that you said earlier, Brian, is like a lot of people that you invite onto the podcast, they're out there doing it, right? They're out there taking action. And I remember when I first got started in real estate, or said that I want to become a real estate investor, there was about, 8 or 9 months where I just sat behind a computer and I watched videos and I read up on seminars and I bought courses and I studied and studied and studied until all of a sudden, dude, it just hit me. And it was like, if I was going to learn how to swim, would I read about swimming in a book? No, you got to get in the friggin' water. You got to actually go and do that. It doesn't matter how many books you read until you get in the water, you're not going to really learn it. And that's the exact same thing with real estate. You need to not just read about it in a book. Now that's going to help, right? Like understand some of these things, get some thought processes and ideas and strategies in your head. But the reality is you just got to go out and buy something. Go out and buy a cheap house. If you go buy a house for under $100,000, it's going to be very hard to lose all of your money on that house. And everybody's like, oh, well, I'm risking $100,000. No. All right. What if even if you suck at real estate and you buy it for 100 and you sell it for 80,000, you didn't lose $100,000. You lost 20 grand, right? And you spent a lot more than $20,000 per year in college trying to get an education that you're probably not doing anything with, or it taught you to go and get a job making $5,000 a month somewhere, so like that first deal, excuse me, will teach you more than reading 100 different books.
Yeah, that's so much value there. And it's going back to the fear. I know for me, that first deal, because like it's almost like if you haven't done it, you can't quite wrap your mind around that it can work for you. You see everyone else do it, and the numbers are showing that it's working for them. But when you put it in your shoes to go take the step, it's like, oh man, like now I'm having skin in the game, and it can be some mental obstacles to kind of jump through. But I mean,
hey, what if a contractor rips you off? What if a tenant screws up your property? What if you get bed bugs in your house? What if the private money lender gets pissed? What if the neighbor calls the cops? What if? All that stuff's going to happen. It's all happened to me across all of my properties. You know what I focused on? Not the negative what ifs. I focused on the positive what ifs. I focused on, what if I got shit rich, right? Like, what if I built a financial wall around my family that nothing could ever penetrate? What if I could go and visit exotic places all around the world on my time, flying first class, taking my family with me, seeing places that people only read about in magazines? What if I was able to build a church, build a hospital, send my kids to any school that they want, retire my parents, retire my spouse? Like, what if that happened? Is it worth all the negative what ifs? Like, I think most people would answer yes. So like, why not just focus on the positive instead of the negative? Like, they're both stories made up in your head anyways. Neither of them really exist yet. So if you get to choose what story, like, just choose the positive story.
Yeah. Especially, I think you started at an age where it's okay to be a failure, like you can mess up and kind of lose everything and everyone's like, oh, it's okay, you're a kid. But if you're 40 years old and you have family and things, there's a lot more people that are kind of counting on you not failing. So the earlier the better. So I'm kind of hoping I get kicked in the teeth as much as I can in my 20s, and then save that, the good stuff for after.
Dude, I get that, and I get that it's a hard pill to swallow for somebody who's got a family and a mortgage and a spouse and a job. But dude, is the failure going and trying something new and not succeeding at it right away? Is a failure trying to put your family in a better financial position? Dude, to me, you know what failure is? Failure is sitting on your ass and going through life with complacency and not seeing what you're capable of. You know what I don't want to be? I don't want to be on my deathbed when I'm 70, 80, 90 years old. I don't know. Hopefully I last that long. And have regrets of like, I wonder how big I could have built it. I wonder what I could have accomplished in this life. I wonder what I could have done. I wonder if I could have inspired my kids more or built a better life for my family. I wonder. Dude, that's failure to me. Failure to me is not going out, starting a new business, falling on your face, getting back up and doing it again. Like, dude, that is success. That's how you lead to success. We all get kicked in the teeth, man. We all get punched in the gut over and over and over again. You just got to get back up. You just got to keep pushing forward. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter if you're in real estate or if you're building some other business. This will happen to you. The grass is not greener on the other side. It happens in every single business. You're going to get kicked. You're going to get knocked down. You just got to get back up. And whoever stays the longest, staying power is the greatest, I would say, attribute to successful people. Is they have the perseverance to stick with it when other people don't. Other people jump around, grass is greener over here. Now I'm going to get into Bitcoin. Now I'm going to sell e-commerce stores. Now I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to flip wholesale real estate. Then I'm going to do that and start this other business and sell baseball cards. Like, dude, I've seen it all. And everybody's chasing all these shiny objects. And the people who just stick with one thing and they focus on their one business, they become the best in the world at it. It becomes they're so good at it, it becomes boring to them. They could do it in their sleep. And you know what they do then? They print friggin' money. The more boring your business is, the more money you print and the more impact you can make doing other stuff. But until your business you're so good at business that it's boring to you, you should not go and jump into other opportunities and chase other shiny objects.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Would you say you're getting to that point with everything you've done so far? It's got to feel like it's so easy to you now, with
apartments,
where you're at.
Apartments are a joke. I mean, obviously you got to find deals, you got to raise the money, you got to put in the work, but it's not
new to you.
Difficult to do. Yeah. I mean, it takes some work and stuff, but it's not difficult. I'm not nervous. I don't get butterflies in my belly anymore. And dude, I have a $335 million portfolio. We're closing on another $70 million deal plus another $5 million deal in the next 30 days, 45 days. So like we'll be up over $400 million in properties. And here's the crazy part, dude. Like I've done this since 2015. Okay. So since 15, I've been building my current portfolio. My current portfolio is let's say it's going to be worth $400 million. Do you realize that if I never did another thing for the rest of my life and I just handed these over to a management company, first of all, I'll have depreciation every year for the next 40 years. I'll also have cash flow every year for the next 40 years. And what's going to happen is like over the next 30 years, we pay down all the loans and we own everything free and clear. And over the next 30 years, I don't know if you've ever looked at what prices do in 30 years, but I'd say they at least double. Prices today are probably at least double what they were in 1990, right? So in 30 years, in 2050, let's call that, $400 million portfolio, $800 million. I own a little over, I don't know, probably around 25, probably 30% of my portfolio. And that means my net worth when all the property's paid off and the property appreciates 30 years from now, never do another thing. I'm 35. If I don't do another thing, and when I'm 65 years old, my net worth is $240 million. Right? Now, I'm not saying that to try to like impress you or anything. What I'm saying is like, I'm trying to paint a visual of what if you dedicate a season of your life to going and buying real estate. And for the next 5 years, even 10 years, You put your head down, you don't look left, you don't look right, you put your head down, you get to work, and you just accumulate assets. You start buying assets. Dude, you know the difference between the rich and the poor? The rich buy assets, the poor buy liabilities. All you got to do is go and buy assets. And the rest works itself out. Just go and buy assets, provide enough value for other people that they're willing to pay you for that asset. And then over time, you pay down the loan, the property appreciates, and you're sitting on a boatload of capital, right? But you got to have a long-term vision.
Yeah, that's so important. And you're a perfect example. Just I can even tell just by the way you talk, like you're a living example of how that works and how you can put those ideas into action, and it can happen if you just start doing something, fail, keep going, get back up. I want to get into some like tactical information that people can apply, because you've obviously learned everything top to bottom. What are some key concepts as far as getting into real estate? Is there a process you use? I've watched quite a bit of your stuff on your Instagram. You talk about finding private money, finding wholesaling deals, finding deals as far as like, what does your process look like for keeping your real estate business flowing?
Yeah, man. I think the most important things to understand is like, what are the revenue generating activities in your business? And for me, being in real estate, it's really just three things. One is raising capital. Two is sourcing deals. And three is just refining our operations, right? Like once we buy the deals, the first two, finding deals and raising money, lead to buying and acquiring deals. The third one leads to actually keeping it, right? It leads to having it cash flow and then being able to hang on to it long term by having good operations in place, keeping the income high, the expenses low, and then you got positive cash flow. So I'm always focused on those three things, and I have people in my business who are essentially the engines of those three businesses. So I have a head of acquisitions. I have somebody who's a chief investment officer who oversees all the capital management and capital raise, and then I have a COO, chief operating officer, who oversees our operations. I'm more the marketing guy. I'm more the fuel that feeds those engines. I do a lot of social media, as you've seen on my Instagram and on my Facebook, and I'm hopping on podcasts like this, and that drives deal flow and drives investors. So knowing what your revenue generating activities are is really, really important, regardless of what business you're in. And you, as the CEO of your business, should stay as close to the revenue line as possible. As soon as you find yourself 1, 2, 3 steps away from the revenue line, you need to staff that stuff out or eliminate it altogether, right? There's other people that you could pay a salary to, hourly, a part-time wage, whatever, that they can handle that stuff. You focus on the revenue generating activities. So that's number one. How do you source deals, right? Like the same way you source them in single family, right? Like you can drive around the neighborhood. We call it driving for dollars, and just look for houses or buildings with tall grass and boarded up windows. You can dial for dollars, call for sale by owners, call for rent by owners. Not interested in renting, I'm interested in buying. Would you be interested in selling your rental property? You can go hang out at eviction court, right? Like there's a lot of motivated sellers right now, motivated landlords who are not collecting rent because of these eviction moratoriums. So you could source a lot of deals. Go and find who works with landlords, insurance agents, commercial insurance agents, commercial mortgage brokers, landlord real estate attorneys. What about, there's so many different vendors, CPAs, like there's so many people you can reach out to that work with these different landlords. So that's how you can find some deals. As far as raising money goes, dude, you would be amazed at how much money is out there. And people that you don't even realize have money, they do, right? Whether that's cash sitting in a checking account, or it's money sitting in a 401k from an old job that they can then do something called self-direct it. So they can actually put their money with a self-directed custodian. They can put their retirement account with them. Like there's a bunch of them out there: Specialized IRA, Equity Trust Company, Kingdom Trust Company, iPlan Group. Like there's a whole bunch. But you can put your IRA or your 401k with them, and then they can either lend the money to you, or they can go and buy a single family house or a duplex or whatever with their IRA money or the 401k money. And then all the money that comes in, cash flow and sales profits from that property, goes back into their IRA or their 401k, either tax-free or tax deferred. So like there's some really cool stuff that you can get into if you know this stuff. If you're educated on it, you can educate other people on it, and then it's going to open up vaults of cash that you'll have access to for them to either lend you money or joint venture with them, or however you want to structure it. So, think about who has money. People at the RIA events, at the Real Estate Investors Associations, right? There's people in there who have access to capital, who are hard money lenders, who just sold a property and they're looking to redeploy into another property, who might be private money lenders or might be joint venture partners. There's a lot of different people out there that you can connect with. Entrepreneurs. I love talking with entrepreneurs. They're too busy to babysit, and like hammer on your door every single day. What's going on with my money? What's going on with my money? Like, you don't have to worry about that. Entrepreneurs are too busy going and making money in their primary business. They just want to put it with you and say, hey, make sure the payments hit every month or every quarter. So I'm hanging out with entrepreneurs a lot. And that's how I source money. And then as far as operations go, dude, you're just always looking at how can we increase income? How can we decrease expenses? Every single month, you're looking at your financial statements and you're like, what can we do to increase the revenue? What can we do to increase the income? What can we do? Where can we cut costs? Can we put in low flow water flow toilets and save some on water bills? Can we put in LED lights and save some on the electrical bills? Can we appeal the property taxes? Can we shop the property insurance? Like, there's so many different things that you can implement in order to increase the value of your property and increase the cash flow of your property. So that's a few strategies.
Yeah, that's money. And that sounds like fundamentals that can be applied from the beginning all the way to when you're where you are,
That's it, dude. Blocking and tackling, right? It's dribbling, shooting, and passing. It's the same stuff over and over and over. We just got really, really good at it. You just refine it. Everybody wants to go and, post shit on social media when they're not even doing deals, or they want to go and create some business cards, or they want to go and do all this other nonsense that's not revenue generating activities, and they'll get spun out, right? Like, you're going to see that over time. Focus on those revenue generating activities. And then one of the parts of that, as far as finding deals, and that relates to the cash. It seems like if you have a deal, you have cash. Like, if there's a good deal that the numbers work, there's going to be an investor that's going to want it. I mean, if it actually is right and you can present it properly. Right now, especially, there's a lot of money on the sidelines right now. There's a ton of cash out there. There's more money than there are deals right now. So if you find a good deal, you will easily get it funded. Just hit up anybody who's doing deals, right? Like, call me, right? Hey, Bratz, I got some deals. Like, you want to put some cash here? Yeah, I probably will, right? I got more money than I have access to deals right now. So talk to anybody in your local RIA. Talk to anybody that you see who's doing deals on social media, and just say, hey, here's the deal. So you can go find the deal. That's a big part of it. 10 years ago, very different story. 10 years ago, deals were everywhere. Very hard to find money. So you need to spend a lot more time sourcing money. And once you source money, it was an all-you-can-eat buffet for properties. Just for my own purposes right now, I'm in the process of looking at a deal. It seems like the numbers work really well, but it's like my first thing. So I'm skeptical, but I'm going to look at it on Saturday. What would be some things that you're looking for? I know the roof's a big one, AC. How do you analyze a deal? Yeah, for me. So there's two parts. There's physical due diligence, which is what you're talking about, but then there's also financial due diligence. So is this a rental property or is it a flip? Buy and hold duplex. Perfect. Okay. Go walk through the big things. The big ticket items are going to be the foundation. Do you guys have basements over there? Nope. Okay. Not this one. You don't have to worry too much about that. You want to take a look at the roof. You walk through the house. If you see any leaks on the ceilings or any water stains on the ceiling, that's an easy indicator that there's some sort of leak somewhere. Here's the thing, dude. I see people like not wanting to spend money on an inspector. The reality is, if you spend a few $100, we spend 10 grand on physical due diligence. We hire a general contractor, an electrician, a plumber to scope all plumbing lines, a roofer to do one of these, like, I don't even know what the hell they're called. They're like these infrared scans of the roof to make sure, it's in good shape. and an HVAC guy. And we're bringing 5 contractors every time we go and look at an apartment building. We spend $10,000 on average, 5 to 10 G's, depending on the size of the building. And we'll never see that money again if we walk away from that deal. But I can give you an example, dude. There was a deal that I had to walk away from, 57 units, buying it at a great price, amazing location, needed a lot of work. It was one of the ugliest buildings you've ever seen, but it had a lot of potential in it. And brought the general contractors out there, spent 5 G's with them. They came through. They're like, dude, every foundation is wrecked. It's going to cost you double what you thought you're going to put into this property. This, and they rattle off all these different, like, this guy just put lipstick on, or put Band-Aids on everything. He never really fixed anything, the seller. And so I walked away from that deal. And that $5,000 saved me over $1 million of additional expenses that would have had to go into that property.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it worth it? Yeah. Some of the best deals I've done, I didn't do. Those were some of the best deals, are the ones that I passed up on, because I didn't lose money on some of those. And so, knowing that, especially right now, dude, everybody wants to get a deal done. Everybody's trying to push the deals through. Everybody's trying to force the deals to happen. I don't force deals. I try to kill deals. I go in with the mindset of, let's kill this thing. I'm gonna well, give me a reason to walk away. Please give me a reason to walk away from this. And as I'm looking for those reasons, if I cannot find enough reasons, if I cannot kill the deal, that's when you know it's a good deal. So you're doing physical due diligence. You're looking at the electrical panel. You're looking at the HVAC. How old is that? Looking at the foundation. You're looking at the roof. And then from a financial standpoint, like, you gotta take a look at the tenants. Make sure that the lease balances out with what they're collecting, right? Like, the only apartment building I ever lost money on, I looked at all the leases and I was like, oh man, this guy's 80% occupied and all these people are paying, right? That's great. And I had the rent roll and I had all the leases and they checked out. And so I bought the property. But occupancy does not equal economic occupancy. Physical occupancy does not equal economic occupancy. And so, although it was 80% physically occupied, only 25% of the tenants were actually paying. It was like 25% economically occupied. So now that was a 44 unit building. So I thought there were, what was it, like 35 units were occupied, 10 were paying. So I had to evict 25 people. I had to renovate 25 more properties. I had to pay for the filing fees, the legal fees, the eviction fees, the move out. I had to renovate 25 more units. Not only all that, but I also didn't have 25 tenants paying rent that I thought I would have. So it totally derailed our financials. I had to borrow more money to just cover operating expenses, to pay the electric and the gas and the heat and everything. And it's the only deal I ever lost money on. And the beauty of it is, actually, I could have actually sat on it for 2 years, paid down principal, let it appreciate, and I would have been break even. But it was more of an opportunity cost. I was like, F this, I'm tired of this property, sell it, let's go focus on bigger stuff.
Wow. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Thank you. That's some good tangible information that, anybody can use, me specifically trying to gain from it. But that's one thing I've noticed talking to people that are really successful, is you sharing information and like experience of you've done and helping other people doesn't affect how well you do. Like it seems like the people that are the best at what they do are just as much as likely to help other people out with what they're doing, because once you've made it, you realize that other people's success doesn't affect yours. It's
not competition, it's collaboration. Like 3 years from now, you might bring me an apartment building that's 400 units and say, hey Tim, too big for me to take down, but I thought about you. Thanks for coming on my podcast 4 years ago. Hey, do you want to buy this property? And all of a sudden it creates an opportunity for me that I couldn't have gotten into. You make a big fee, or maybe even you get kicked some equity in the deal, and it's a big opportunity for you, all because you invited me on here. I shared a bunch of information, and neither of us have a scarcity mentality. We're both abundantly mindseted.
Which I can promise you, the information that you're sharing is worth I don't even know how much it'll translate for me in the future, because this is something that I'm pretty passionate about right now. I know I'm really early on, but just taking like little pearls here and there from people like you is very beneficial. And then I also hope that's the kind of the double effect of the podcast is it's not very big, but people that are watching can take advice and maybe it'll spark an idea for them. And I really do think it's kind of a snowball effect that can
For sure.
help a lot of people. So yeah, another thing I was going to ask, kind of about your what you've been doing. At what point did you transition into apartments? Did you leverage the properties you had to put a down payment? How does that work?
Yeah. So I used private money early on, right? Like the banks were not lending, especially as somebody without experience, especially somebody who was, in their early 20s. So I just used private money. I found people with some cash.
Hmm.
I then put up the money. I did all the work. And dude, I gave up 67% of the equity in the first 250 deals that I did.
Wow.
Gave up 2/3 of the equity in the first 200 plus deals that I did. Why the hell would I ever do that? Because I need to build my balance sheet. I need to build my resume. I need to be able to show bankers a portfolio, show bankers past performance, right? I need to be able to show these things and build up a reputation. So that way, when that partnership actually ended up, we liquidated everything. I had a waiting list of people who wanted to get in business with me, who wanted to sell me deals, who wanted to joint venture with me, who wanted to lend me money. But I had an exclusive partnership before that, and I couldn't do deals with them. So it just turned into one of these things where um, it was a down payment on future opportunity, right? Like you can't just go in to the bank and start pulling money out. You have to make deposits first, dude. And that's deposits into your career, into your business, into like there's a long time of making deposits before your capital balance creates enough, it's big enough to then start allowing you to pull out dividends, So like, dude, I'm always thinking I'm making deposits. I'm making deposits for future growth, for future opportunity. I'm deferring instant gratification, instant paydays for future equity in deals because equity is where the real money's made.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the mindset that these long-term real estate professionals like yourself have, is that delaying that gratification for later. Like you said, if you stop now, I mean, if that's not delaying gratification to wait to have your portfolio double just by what you've done on the upfront side of things, that's pretty cool. As far as like learning about real estate before you jumped in, I know you mentioned Think and Grow Rich. That's kind of the one that started me down this like spiraling path of trying to talk to everybody and learn as much as possible. What are some good books that you recommend for people?
Yeah, man, the classics: Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is like one of the most impactful books I've ever read. Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki is a great one. Richest Man of Babylon, right? Like the show's about wealth building. Like the Richest Man of Babylon gives you just basic principles of how to earn money, keep your money, and then get your money working for you. It's a really, really good book. Anything on mindset, anything by Jim Rohn is amazing. Dude, I've always worked harder on this than I did even in my business. Having the right mindset, dude, is 80% of this game, and then doing the activity is the other 20%. So just work hard on your mindset, and like if you have an ironclad mindset, you keep the negativity out, you filter the stuff to only let the good stuff in. You are super careful about who you're hanging out with. You're not hanging out with people with a common past. You're hanging out with people with a common future, right? Like that's who you want to be surrounding yourself with. Because you don't want to be king of the dipshits where it's you and your 5 buddies and your buddy over here is talking about how they just got a $4,000 or no, a 15-cent raise per hour, right? And you're like, are you like, dude, what are we talking about, right? Like, let's go talk about making millions or hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. And if you're not in rooms with people having those conversations, you're in the wrong rooms, if that's what you want, right? Unless what you want is to bury your head in the sand and drink beers every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then go to work at a dead end job and work for somebody else for the next 40 years and then retire on less money than you couldn't already live off of for the first 40 years. And then work till you die and then die with regret, right? Like if that's what you want, like, you hang out with those people. If that's not what you want, then you go get in better rooms with people asking better questions and having better conversations.
Yeah, it's like that mindset. And even a lot of those books that you're mentioning, a lot of it is changing your mind from how is this not going to work to how can I make this work? And that was actually one of the questions, just to kind of backtrack a little bit, that I wanted to ask you, because I feel like when people think about real estate, they're like, oh, you have to have money to make money. Oh, you need to do 20% down to get into real estate. But what I've come to learn is that there's just so many ways to be creative about financing deals. What are some of those creative ideas that you've worked with previously?
Dude, I think it's more important to not give you the strategies, but teach you how to go find the strategy. Like literally when people hit me up and they ask me that kind of stuff, I'm like, Google it. Have you ever Google searched how to creatively finance real estate?
Yeah.
Have you ever Google searched how to buy houses with none of my own money, or with no money out of pocket, with no money down? Like, dude, you just start Google searching, you start asking questions to Google, and there are countless documents out there for any question that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how do I find off-market direct-to-seller apartment buildings? How do I find off-market direct-to-seller warehouses? How do I find off-market direct-to-seller office buildings? How do I source deals in real estate? How do I raise money how do I raise private money? How do I structure like, dude, any question that you have can be answered just on Google. So I'm like, GTS, right? Google that shit. Just Google, just look it up. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things out there, but just Google search creative financing strategies for real estate. And there's going to be things like seller financing. There's going to be things like lease options. There's going to be wrap mortgages. There's going to be installment contracts for deed. There's going to be all sorts of different stuff, dude.
Yeah. Or
so
even just
strategies, so many different ways, using private money, using bank money, using institutional debt, using hard money, using like IRA funds, using like, there's so many different ways that it would be a 2-day course just to kind of go over all that. But like, just pick up on it, And every time you conceptualize one of these ideas, it's another tool in the tool belt, and another way that you can kind of structure deals creatively and get deals done that other people can't.
Yeah, I kind of just wanted to throw that out there because I know you of all people know how much opportunity is out there in real estate. So just like that question alone is like, it's silly because it's literally an unlimited amount of possibilities that you can formulate. And if you want to know those ideas, you can literally go to your Instagram, and there's a lot of stuff that talks about how to find deals, anything that you've been posting on there.
There's a lot of information out there from a lot of people. And I think you just need to realize that everybody on social media, dude, the internet's a bathroom wall, right? So like anybody can go in there and write anything they want on a bathroom wall, and the internet's the same way. And there's a lot of people that are full of crap on the internet who talk a big game. They're not really doing anything. Like, you can take the information in, but not all of it is gospel truth. Like, you got to be able to sift through the information, sort through the stuff that you like, throw away the stuff that you don't like. There's just think, right? Like, critically think, reason, logic through what other people are saying. If it resonates with you, hang on to it. If it doesn't, throw it away. You don't have to, like, dude, I've read books and I was like, I don't agree with anything in this book. Not a single, if there's the worst book that I ever read, it's this, like, because that was, just because it's a book doesn't mean it's truth, right? Like, it's, I don't know, somebody with an opinion who wrote this book, and that opinion does not resonate with me and what I've seen in business. So they must have had different experiences, or they're full of shit. One of the two, like, I don't know. But I think about that a lot, and there's so much of it, and especially to young minds who are not, who have not really been through the whole cycle yet, and you're just kind of getting started, and you're about to plant those seeds, man. I want to make sure that you got the right insights. So, dude, find a mentor, find a mastermind group, find a real estate investors association that has like the values that you believe in, right? Like they have good core values. Like, dude, I think about this. Like I know some of these guys out here, some of these gurus, and dude, they cheat on their spouse all day, every day. And all they do is they go out and they cheat on their spouse, and and listen, dude, I'm not some altruistic, like moral compass
No, I
for
got
anybody.
you.
Like who the hell am I, right? But there's certain people that go out there seeking to cheat on their spouse, and they're married. They have a covenant with frigging God, right? And then I think about them actively going and then trying to get in business with me or you or somebody else. And I was like, dude, if they have a covenant in front of God and they break that with their spouse, what are they going to do with you with a paper contract, right? Like you're bound to get burned by this individual, right? And I know several of these gurus out there, dude, that are doing that, and I'm like, I don't get it. I would never resonate with them, and I don't understand why other people don't see past it. But they have fancy cars, right? They have fancy houses and they have jets or whatever. But dude, find somebody with the values that align with you, and then from there, then get the information, right? Like that's having a mentor with the same values is more important than having a very successful mentor, right? Because if they don't have the same values as you, dude, their relationships are going to suck. Their health might suck. Like that, they're going to have, and probably their wealth is going to leave them eventually. So make sure you have somebody with good core values that you align with, that you embody as well. And I think that's probably the best advice from a mentorship standpoint.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's incredible. I completely agree. I know you, I don't want to take too much of your time here. I always like to ask this last question because it's the Get Wealth podcast. If you could just give a quick definition of how you define wealth.
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I think wealth to me is not monetary, right? Like I would measure my wealth by happiness.
Mm-hmm.
The happier I am, I would say the wealthier that I am. And the reality is wealth helps lead to that, right? Like I'm a big student of not just real estate and personal wealth and personal finance, but just of mindset and strategy and philosophy and happiness. And there's a study out there that says once your basic needs are met, which is food on the table, clothes on your back, roof over your head, live in a safe neighborhood, you don't have to worry about being broken into and stabbed and robbed or anything like that. Once that is met, which in most communities around the United States, probably $50,000 a year, right? A household income. It doesn't like your happiness level does not change once your basic needs are met, whether you make 50,000 or 50 million a year. I remember hearing that, I was like, I still want to try the 50 million just in case, right? Like let me be the judge of that. So like you got to figure out, one, you got to, they all say you got to do something that you like, something that you enjoy, something that fulfills you, right? Like the coaching and the education side really fulfills me. I love that side of things. So that doesn't feel like work. Like I enjoy it. I love it. And giving back really makes me feel good, but I wouldn't be able to give back unless I had money, right? So you got to go and have the wealth in order to be able to give back, in order to have some of that fulfillment and feel good. So I think, the more wealth you have, the bigger impact you have. And, my big word is legacy, right? Like, how do you create a legacy? It's not by passing down money or treasure or estate or property. It's by passing down mindset. And so I think having a wealthy mindset is more important than anything else.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's a good note to end on. Where can people find you? Instagram, social media, stuff like that?
Man, I appreciate that. Yeah, my Instagram handle's @TimBratz. Facebook's /TL Bratz. Just search me on Facebook. I'm on TikTok also, and what else? And YouTube. We have a YouTube. We just kind of take all of our videos and throw it on YouTube. It's called the Legacy Wealth Channel. So yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. You asked a lot of great questions, and yeah, let me know how that deal goes this weekend that you go check out.
All righty, Tim Bratz, everybody, get wealthy.